Good morning. President Trump won US election by his populist slogan, Make America Great Again. But that was not exactly populist. That was expressing the hope of millions of Americans that America was once great. And then it started faltering. And now again there's need to make it again what it was in the Helicon days. Let's not forget that the wrong policies of various administrations and the rising economic well-being of the countries like India and China were showing a potent danger to USA that their hegemony, that their top status was being threatened. So there was a lot of justification, make America great again. Now catching on that catchphrase comes up our Honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He doesn't say make Canada back again, great again. No, he says Canada is back. So one person, the President of USA says, let's make an effort to make America great again. And the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says, no, we are back. We are great once again. This is a statement that evokes a certain nostalgic yearning to recreate a once proud international reputation that Canada really once had. While the effort of Trump is to make an effort to go back, it's an effort towards an end. Here we have already achieved the end. Now in Canada's case, coming back, being back comes to suggest that we are in the heady days of the Cold War, when Canada was admired for its founding role at the United Nations, its commitment to peacekeeping, its hefty contributions in action and in money to foreign aid, and its succession of great leaders who were not only Canadian leaders, but were very effective international statesmen. People like Lester Pearson, people like Pierre Trudeau, Joe Clark, Brian Mulroney, and Diefenbaker. But that word has gone away. There's no going back. The era of the Cold War is over, and it's not going to come back, whatever the wishes may be. Now imagine an anomaly when de Gaulle insisted that Canada should be a member of G7. At that time, the economy of Canada was really the 7th largest in the world. Today, it is still a member of G7, but the economy is the 10th largest. So it doesn't deserve to be in G7, and it's there, courtesy de Gaulle, and because it happens to be there. If Canada is back, our economy should not be at the 10th place. It should be at the 7th place. In the post-Second World War era, Canada was rich, democratic, and had no baggage of the former colonial powers like England. And it played a very important role, a major role, at international level, both in the Commonwealth and the Francophone. As a matter of fact, both words, the French and the English, were ready to embrace Canada because it was rich and democratic. And as I said, it had no baggage. Now, I'll give you one shining example. Canadian leadership can campaign to shame the racist regime of South Africa, which was advocating apartheid, out of existence, was great. And it was in a sharp contrast to the complicity of Britain and USA, which was supporting that regime. So when Canada opposed that regime, it won the love, the admiration, and the goodwill of billions of people who were opposed to racism, who were opposed to apartheid. And that made Canada again great. Are we there today? Do people look up to us? Recently in Philippines, the president of the Philippines practically asked Prime Minister to mind in his own business. USA, which was always banking on Canada, is no longer banking on Canada. The Commonwealth of Nations, Canada is one of the members, but doesn't play a leading role. Its queen, head of the state is the Queen, but so she's the head of the 21 other states. And that's the reason every year, every decade, Canada tried to be elected to the UN Security Council, and it wasn't elected. It was an honor meant to reflect the country's proven performance in international affairs. Let's take the period of half century between 45 to 95. And that was a period extremely appropriate, extremely well suited to a middle power like Canada to show its capability, to punch about its weight. The peacekeeping in that era was not very easy, and neither was it particularly costly in terms of human life or cash. So well-trained Canadian troops could, and they did, perform decades of patrolling hotspots like Nicotia's Green Line and Golan Heights in Middle East. Back then, the peacekeeping Canadian soldiers they went to the places where aging equipment was no determinant. If people are fighting with the stones and the lances, and you go with the muskets, you will be successful. And that's why they're losing their life. The chances of that were very slim, very meager. And the pleasure of Cyprus beaches and the Damascus lively souks could take off the edge of the hardships. Syria at that time was practically heaven, not the Syria of today. Lebanon was the real Garden of Eden. Cyprus was a jewel, not today. So it was a time when the Canadian leaders could boast, and very justifiably, that the nation never missed a UN peacekeeping mission. By early 1990s, Canada had more troops and more peacekeeping missions than any other country. So are we back there? Today, now compared with that with today, Canada's foreign aid is a percentage of the GDP is roughly half what it was in 1975. We have reduced it. So it's always the money makes a mayor. Oh, if you're not giving money, why should the people listen to you? So we have reduced by 50% what you were giving in 1975. And you have also reduced your spending, defense spending, by 60%. 60%, so your everything is outdated. And yet the Prime Minister says, Canada is back again. Then the word changed after this half century. Peacekeeping got tough. Cold War had ended. And with the end of the Cold War ended the era of the grantees of the superpowers. So in Bosnia, Croatia, Somalia, second-rate equipment that Canada was using turned out to be extremely costly. It was effective in Cyprus. It was effective in Golan Heights, but it was not effective in Bosnia, Croatia, and Somalia. Then a few Canadian special soldiers tortured and murdered a defenseless teenager in Somalia. There was a cover-up by the Canadian High Command, but the shine, the gloss was missing. Then there was a golden age of Canadian diplomacy. Canada lost interest. Today, Canada has 62 peacekeepers total in the world, and it ranks 66th among the contributing nations. It was number 1 in the contributing nations, and it had practically more than 500 soldiers. Today, we have 62, and we are ranked 66. And yet the Prime Minister says, Canada is back. Wow. This is a far cry from that age, the golden age of the Canadian diplomacy. Canadian leaders took action that startled the world, that amazed the world. They didn't care for what is the opinion of the others. Pierre Trudeau, father of the present Prime Minister, launched a personal diplomatic effort in the mid-80s to ease tension between Moscow and Washington. President Reagan didn't like it, but the reputation of Canada, the international reputation, demanded respect and attention, and they listened to it. Today, when Canada is back, according to our Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland, Justin Trudeau just gets an invite as an observer, not as a participant, not as a guest of honor, but as an observer to the East Asia Summit last year. And they consider that being invited as an observer is a great deal. But really, Canada is back. When the Prime Minister says Canada is back, and the fact that he has been invited as an observer is a very important sign according to Freeland. Actually, it's not. Numbers don't lie, nor do the commitments. Today, Canada's foreign aid is a percentage of GDP. As I said earlier, 50% of what it was in 1975. The gross underperformance in foreign aid cost 7 million lives in 20-year period, according to Global Canada. That's not me. 7 million lives were lost. And the defense spending, as I said, they have already reduced by 60% compared to 97 levels. Climate change, civil war, drought, and natural disasters threaten all of us. And these have spawned mass migrations. And the democracies today have a shared imperative to uphold human rights, which Canada is doing selectively. It would do for Rohingyas, but would not do for Iranians. It would not do for Saudi Arabia, but it would do for Philippines, where they have been asked to keep quiet. Imagine. Even in Rohingyas, look at the hypocrisy. Prime Minister had a private audience with Aung San Suu Kyi, where he gave expression to the disapproval, but it was not a return to the principal foreign policy. Canadian soldiers were eyewitness to Rwanda's genocide and years of monstrous ethnic cleansing in Bosnia and Kosovo. And what you do is just a private meeting and a bit of finger wagging, and Canada is back. When Trudeau's government's deafening silence over Iran's pro-democracy demonstrations is deafening silence, and making noise now might undermine liberal efforts to reopen embassy in Tehran and do some trading, subsidizing 80% of the sale of the aircraft, shows Canada is back. There is no join in pleading for a Security Council. Let's be very clear. Canada wants a seat in Security Council. It would never have. So why try about it? But it's possible, provided. And the provision is that the Canada government actually has principles if it's willing to uphold them. Merely paying lip service doesn't help. Canada cannot go back to the Cold War era. At that time, its international profile and glowing reputation came cheap. Today, the word is different. Making the words Canada is back really means something in this 20th century of global disequilibrium and new threat required by the expenditure of money, efforts, risks, not photo ops, not private meetings. Merely saying Canada is back is a self-delusional attempt, neither useful nor helpful. It might make some people, some ignorant people in the country believe so, but the majority looks at it, smiles cynically, and the international powers smile. I am reminded when Paul Martin visited India as the Prime Minister. At that time, there was no headlines in any Indian newspaper. It was the news talked on the third page that the Prime Minister of Canada is visiting India. The same day, King of Tobago, he visited India, and the front line, the headline in all newspapers was the King of Tobago is visiting India. Compare it to what Pierre Trudeau when he visited India. All the newspapers went gaga. He was lionized as a hero. The Prime Minister herself received him as a terma. And yet, his son says that Canada is back. I wish he could have a memory when he was 2 years old and they were given adulation and admiration. Would he get the same admiration today? And if not, don't say Canada is back. It is not back. It can be back, but it is not back. Thank you.